Hello everyone, welcome to my presentation for research project. First, I want to give some general information about the concerto in the classical area, giving some example from the Hummel. Then I want to speak about the invention of the key trumpet. Finally, I'm focusing on the musical characteristic of the first movement of the Hummel, playing some example of it. The classical era is the period of history from 1750 to 1830. Those years was plenty of such a talented musician and composer, Mozart, Beethoven, Schubert, Haydn. And Vienna was the main city where musicians succeed. The music of the next century, even today, is heavily influenced by the classical era. Probably the most important aspect is the establishment of the symphony form, solo sonata, string quartet, piano trio, and others. The music is more sophisticated, the orchestra increases in size, and the musicians play with more dynamic contrast. The music consists in predictable phrases, usually 4 bars long, introduced by cadences. Usually, the classic concerto is divided in 3 or 4 movements. These movements are contrasting in tempo and style. The first movement in the classic concerto is in sonata form and is the longest. In this section, the composer shows his intellectual idea in order to grabbing the attention from the audience. We will see later this part in details in my demonstration. The second movement of the classical concerto generally uses a slower tempo and lyrical melody. It can be in sonata form or ternary form with theme and variation. The Hummel's second movement, Andante, it is in common time signature 4/4 in A minor. The trumpet here is the sole melodic instrument. The soloist plays the main theme after a long trim and a very beginning. Now we can have also a third movement called minuet and trio, which follow a ternary structure ABA, but we don't actually have this section in the Hummel. The last one is the most challenging and technically also the fastest. We can listen here more virtuoso element to show the skills of the soloist and also a smaller part called coda or codetta that is generally introduced by a cadenza, and it is a passage that brings a piece to an end. In the Hummel it is a very fast tempo and the soloist plays very challenging technical passage. The codetta is a reminiscence of the first movement. The music then changes in the key of E minor to come back in the coda of E major, where the trumpet has other virtuoso elements such as trill, arpeggio, and technical passage. The codetta material returns to finish the movement. Now, Hummel was the successor of Haydn in the court orchestra of Nicolaus II, but this was just for a short period upon dismissal from his post for neglected of duties. During these years, the court orchestra was very important, and the position of Kapellmeister of Esterhazy family was one of the best employment for musicians at the time. The Esterhazy family was the foremost princely house of Hungary. The residence contained 2 theatres, one for opera and the other one for marionette plays, 2 concert rooms, and one large could contain a full orchestra and a smaller one the chamber music. The Kapellmeister duty include regular performances, usually one opera and 2 concerts a week, with major works for important guests, and daily chamber music at the prince's pleasures. We can imagine that the musical contribute that Haydn first and Hummel later provide for this family was huge. Now, Hummel Trumpet Concerto together with the Haydn Trumpet Concerto from 1796 are known as the most famous classical works for the trumpet because it was the first time that people could hear a trumpet play chromatically. The trumpet concerto was written for Viennese trumpet virtuoso and inventor of the key trumpet, Anton Weidinger, performed the first time on New Year's Day in 1804. The technical demand of the solo part required the soloist to be capable to play chromatic passage, wide leaps, fast semiquavers pattern, and trill. In the 18th century, we can see many musical innovation and development of musical instruments like the fortepiano and pianoforte that replaces the harpsichord. One important innovation was the first successful key trumpet. It was built in the twice-coiled shape of natural trumpet. The pictures show the instrument during that time, and we can see the instrument had 4 to 6 padded brass key that raised the pitch by a semitone, a tone and a half, and two tone using the fourth key. It was a big changing from the previous natural trumpet, which was able to play only one harmonic series. The Klappentrompete key trumpet was initially built in the key of E flat or A flat. During this period, the instruments had also series of crooks, which means length of tubing used for lowering the natural harmonic series. In other words, the crux was used to change the instrument itself to another pitch. The main problem with the key trumpet and the reason why it was eventually an unsuccessful instrument was that the hole wasn't very precise, and this caused a lack of quality of tone, especially in certain notes. You have to compensate this defect with the lips. This was caused by a soft padding of the key. Even in the modern valve trumpet there are tuning issues because it is an imperfect instrument, and sometimes you have to use the two moving slide to center the pitch. The harmonic series are not at the same distance as you go higher on the trumpet because the interval between the notes becomes shorter and you rapidly lose precision. The creation of the key trumpet was a consequence of profound desire to play diatonically and chromatically during the 18th century. Now, the Hummel and Haydn concerto are pieces for music composed for a soloist and orchestra. In this case, the orchestra is represented by two flute, two oboe, two clarinet, two horn, timpani, and strings. Now, I have mentioned it at the beginning, the first movement, because I want to play it for you now, speaking about the harmony and the structure. The movement is in sonata form, is featured by a double exposition. The first one is the first subject and is played in a large introduction by the orchestra in the tonic key, using the two main motifs, the unison and the octave, from the orchestra, and a different rhythm structure from the violins. The second subject starts with the strings in A flat major, then change in F minor, and come back to E flat major. The closing section with new material against string have the main motif and the wind only support the harmony. The second exposition starts with the trumpet and the first violin. The soloist here add new idea to the first subject. The triplet arpeggio developed with new theme till the cadences in A flat in bar 84. The transition begins in the key of E flat with two main themes that reflect the first subject in the exposition and it developed later with many other keys. The second subject is stated by the trumpet alone first and by the first violin later, where the trumpet here play a counter theme. Later, there are some virtuoso triplet arpeggio played by the soloist, leading to a cadential material in the dominant key. I want to play for you the entire second exposition. Now we are at the development section, which starts in the key of B flat major, passed between strings and wind with material from the first subject. There is a change of key, and we hear that very clear with the chord of E flat minor. This movement consists in repetition of the first and second subject using different key. Before the recapitulation begins, the music comes back to the key of E flat major and then B flat major. I'll demonstrate some example. The recapitulation started bar 211 with again the arpeggio from the trumpet but with some variation. Then we can hear some new material with a passage of semiquavers leading to another similar arpeggio. The second subject area begins with virtuoso scales and arpeggio in the tonic key. The closing section is for orchestra only. Here my demonstration. Thank you very much. This was my presentation for research project.